What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker.
Amir Rahimi.
And today on The Great Debaters, gotta take it to the east, man. Boogie Down Productions. Get ready. Alright, Amir. So today on The Great Debaters, we're going to be looking at Boogie Down Productions' second album, By All Means Necessary. This album came out in '88 and followed Criminal Minded, of course. And it also came on the heels of the murder of Scott LaRock, founding member of Boogie Down Productions, and in many ways the guiding light of the group, at least in the early stages. And then KRS-One took the mantle after Scott LaRock's passing and delivered this masterpiece, By All Means Necessary. So what Amir and I are going to do today is go through and pick our 3 favorite songs off the album. And I must say, Amir, this is probably my first favorite rap album because I loved rap up to this point, but this album was probably the first one where I just said, this is the best album in rap I'd ever heard.
Oh, wow.
And so it's very difficult for me to pick 3 songs of my top 3 because it's probably all 10 are phenomenal. In very different ways, but other than they're all phenomenal. So, Amir, for you, I know you listened to the album later, didn't hear it as it was coming out, but for you, and I know you tend to listen to things chronologically, so did you listen to Criminal Minded and then this album, or how did it work?
So I did listen to Criminal Minded and then By All Means Necessary. However, when I was first starting out buying rap albums, for some artists, I bought their greatest hits first. So with KRS-One, he had a compilation called a Retrospective.
Right.
He had some of his solo songs and some Boogie Down Productions songs. So I had heard My Philosophy, I'm Still Number One, from this album on that compilation. So that, I guess, kind of made me listen to some of By All Means Necessary before. But yeah, when I listened to full albums, it was Criminal Minded and then By All Means Necessary. So okay. Definitely I saw a slight shift in subject matter, straying away from some of the guns. Is on this album, he actually has a lyric where he says, "You saw me with guns on my last album cover, holding a pistol something far from a lover," something to that extent. So,
well, that's all My Philosophy, Amir. So let's just get right into it. But what you were saying, continue.
So actually, that segues perfect because one of my picks is My Philosophy, which I believe is, I know you don't like saying this out there, but I think it's one of the best songs in rap history. It's just,
I mean, I agree. It is.
It's so good, man.
It is.
So one thing before I jump into the details of the song, one thing that I love about the song, the vinyl single of it, is how he printed an inner sleeve, or Jive printed an inner sleeve with Scott LaRock's baby photo, and it basically said, loving memory of Scott LaRock. And on the album liner notes, I believe it says something like, even though Scott LaRock is not here, he is here, or something to that effect. So I love how he's always repping Scott for albums to come, and it's beautiful.
He says on the albums all over the place, overseen by Scott LaRock, which was always cool, and there's the picture of his son. So yeah. Anyway. So My Philosophy, Amir, what makes this one of the best songs in rap history?
Dude,
everything?
Literally, man, this kind of makes me mad because I don't really want to talk about, I don't know where to start. I don't know, there's so many quotables that it's kind of doing an injustice to even talk about one thing in particular. But even to start off the song, or the album really, You're a Philosopher, yes, I think very deep. That's so weird. I don't know, in '88, was this a common thing to do things like this? And then to say in 4 seconds you're about to hear a teacher, and this song has been, because when we did our video on Slick Rick and Lottie Dottie in the show, and we talked about how those songs have been sampled so much. This is another one that I've heard Slaughterhouse, Ice Cube, Beastie Boys, Cannabis, you name it. They sampled or copied a little bit of the song.
Black Moon,
how many MCs, and then we get, it's not about a salary, it's all about reality, which is one of my favorite samples. Is this song, people just know how great it is. And
it's phenomenal.
it's just so good, and he talks about like his philosophy. He talks about being a vegetarian and all these other things. I'm just like, what am I even listening to? It's just excellent, and I want you to kind of break it down even more because you're good at that.
Man, this song is so phenomenal, and you highlighted a lot of the great points. But the thing that I really liked about it was this was still in an era of rap where there wasn't the uh, demand, or the mandate is the word I was looking for choruses. So there was just the music just played, and then he came back and started rapping. And to me, as a little kid, like, I didn't fully understand song structure. I didn't understand what was going on. But I thought it was a refreshing break just to have a little break, because the lyrics and his flows and his style and everything was just so remarkable that he was breaking down all these different things in the song, and I just thought it was amazing. And then Legendary Trackster and I had done a best albums on this album, and he talked about the scene in the video where the BDP posse is like walking up, and that's being one of his favorite scenes from a music video ever, with the jackets and everything. And I just remember the song, hearing the song before I saw the video, and then seeing the video, and it was brought to life. And like you were saying, with the teacher and thinking deeply and these different things, like as he later with Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One made edutainment a thing, but it was so different, the era and the followers of rap. Like, Boogie Down Productions was one of the biggest groups, and he's in here telling you, like, I'm teaching you things, I'm educating you, I'm the teacher. There's even a song called Teacher, Teacher. And it's just amazing that nobody looked at him like strange, like, oh, you're corny or you're wet. Like, no, KRS-One is one of the best rappers, if not the best rapper. And then on top of that, I'm telling you, I'm teaching you things. I'm telling you, I'm here to educate and to entertain you. This is not just, you know, me sticking out my chest saying I'm the man. There's a lot more to what's going on. And my philosophy is one of the many songs, even though there's only 10, one of the many songs where he does that at such an insanely high level that it just, every time I hear it till today, and my girl Davita and my daughter Lauren, you know, they don't like this song nearly as much as I do, but because there's, other than when he beeps out the profanity, there's no profanity, so I can play it in front of my daughter and not worry about it. And then there's so many insightful things that he says, but they don't like it to the level that I do. But I say all that to say, the lyrics on here, the flow, the style, the fact it's a long song, the fact that there's no chorus per se, the fact that there's scratching, there's just so much in it that I love, and it just sets the album off in such a phenomenal way that it's just like, what are we about to listen to? This is something just astounding. And I think you see his, you know, coming from Criminal Minded, like you had talked about, he, because of Skylar Rock's death, but also from talking to KRS-One and spending a lot of time with him over the years, like, you know, he's told me that, and I talk about it in my book, The History of Gangster Rap, but, you know, he made the shift from Criminal Minded to By All Means Necessary in part because of Skylar Rock's death, but it also, you know, that the Criminal Minded, the gangster elements that were most popular or most notable on Criminal Minded album, that was more, he said, always of Skylar Rock's influence. And this album is where you get to see who he is more. Because Poetry, he told me, was more of him. Super Ho is more Skylar Rock. And that is played off, you know, with Jimmy, is like, oh, you want to have the Super Hoes, but make sure to have your condoms and your protection if you're out there doing that type of thing. And that's where I was just like, okay, this dude, KRS-One, is on such a different playing field than basically everybody else in rap. Because even with Public Enemy, with Yo Bum Rush to Show, and then we get it, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, KRS-One, because the music wasn't so jarring, there was a different way that I listened to to his music versus Public Enemy. Plus, that was known to be a group, whereas now at this point, even though there was the BDP posse, it was mainly just KRS-One and other people helping, but there wasn't a Flavor Flav rapping, there wasn't a Terminator X, there wasn't a Professor Griff, it was just KRS-One. So, that being, and then of course DJ Red Alert on Jimmy. But that, my philosophy, clearly is one of my top 3 picks too. So what's another one for you, Amir?
I'm gonna go with I'm Still Number One.
Okay.
Man, that KRS-One, he set a lot of trends with some of the things he says, as we already discussed on my philosophy, how so many people sample it. This one too, man, where he's starting the whole thing off saying who's down with him, who's down with his crew. Scarface even did like a little cover on his last of a Dying Breed album. And no, it's just like crazy because people, not a lot of people talk about KRS-One, to be honest, like in terms of the greatest. But it's crazy that some of the greatest artists are covering his music, sampling his music, doing all this with his music. But I'm Still Number One. I just love how KRS, and I've said this to you off camera, that he reminds me a bit of Too Short, not in the sense of subject matter necessarily, but in the sense of he talks and it's very easy to understand what he's saying. He's slow enough where you can hear him. I know everything he's saying. I don't need to look at any lyric sheet. I just know exactly what he's saying. It's crystal clear. It makes sense. It has direction. And when he tells a story, it's also clear. So, and he even says what makes up a KRS: concise teaching and very clear speaking. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you're right. You're not lying. And here apparently, so I kind of need you to clarify this for me a little bit. Me being a younger dude, like where he says rap, people from the old school, rap is not even 20 years old, blah, blah, blah. And he's basically saying, your turn is up, it's my turn. Who is he going at someone? I keep hearing that he's going at Melly Mel or something. I don't know. I wouldn't get it just from listening to the song, but I've done some research and people are saying he was getting at his idol Melly Mel. Is there any truth to that?
That's what I was always told and what I always understood. I never asked KRS-One. Maybe I'll ask him next time I talk to him. But that all roads lead in that direction, because prior to KRS-One, I think, Kool Moe Dee and Melly Mel were, I guess, regarded as probably the 2 best, if not the best. And since KRS-One was label mates with Kool Moe Dee, and then obviously did Stop the Violence with Kool Moe Dee, and then did a lot of other stuff with him, I think maybe, I don't know, but maybe he didn't go after him for that purpose, and because Melly Mel just was a different generation and a different artist, and like you said, KRS-One was trying to say, we're here now.
Correct.
We're in here, as a later BDP song would say. But, I'm Still Number One is one of the best albums on here, but just to be able to talk about more songs, and it's probably my number 4 song, probably. We'll get into something else. And my next one would be Stop the Violence, because the fact of so much of this song is amazing. One, the fact that it's a song that people love that is telling you to stop being violent, I thought was amazing, especially coming off the heels of Criminal Minded. Yeah. But then, talking about production and KRS-One's production. Dude, he has a xylophone and like some weird Fruit Loops type of commercial thing in the middle there with the president still on vacation. And I was listening to this like, this was on that level of like the show with Inspector Gadget and all these different things that were like sonically going on, and it shows the difference of when a song is produced, whereas a song is just looped and it's played with no changes, no nothing. Like, this was an early example, and we saw this a lot with the great rap music from '88 and previous to this, of how brilliant the sonic, musical, and oral selections that these dudes did that were very unconventional, but that were so amazing. And the fact that, 1, 2, 3. He's, people redid that later. So it's like there's so much of what he did on Stop the Violence, and of course it's a positive song on top of all that.
Yeah.
Like, here's a guy that's a phenomenal rapper that will destroy you, as he showed throughout this album with I'm Still Number One and all of Criminal Minded but then he's also like, you know what though, we need to like pump the brakes and stop the violence in hip-hop, especially because that will help the overall community and society at large. And that, to me, and to put it so close to the front of the album, it's the third song. Like, I was just like, this dude, he's just like, amazing. And a lot of rap, I don't participate in a lot of what is discussed, but this was another album where I felt like what he was saying aligned very much in line with what I felt and believed, even as a little kid. Like, I didn't want to see all the violence and stuff because it was already, growing up in Maryland between Baltimore and DC, that was thankfully not on my block in my specific neighborhood, but it wasn't that far away. So I knew there was a lot of it going on. And for him to come out as somebody who I'd already listened to and liked and thought was amazing, but for him to then kind of say, look, we need to stop this in such a big way, I thought was amazing.
No, that song is excellent, and I'm happy you picked it because my third song was not Stop the Violence.
Okay.
Like you said, it's hard to pick. My third would be Illegal Business.
Okay.
And that's one of the more darker produced songs. It's not completely dark, but it is darker. Man, dude. So I just love how he's just really talking about, and he really breaks it down and plays the teacher role.
Yeah.
He really, on the second verse, he tells you what is illegal in the eyes of the government and what is illegal in the eyes of the government. So illegal is crack, illegal is weed, illegal is cocaine and it's prescribed by a doctor, legal is tobacco. So, and he kind of breaks it down, and in the first verse where he talks about how the police find the drug dealer and stalk him and are like, well, you gotta cooperate with us and be our friend, otherwise we're gonna shut your thing down. So you owe us money, you owe us product.
Right.
And I just thought that was just, and how young is Karras when he's making this music? This is a very bright person, spitting very clearly, very crystal
early
clear.
20s. This is actually my third of my 3 favorite songs from By All Means Necessary, Illegal Business, and the reason is because of a lot of what you said. And I liked, again, I'm going to talk, since you talked a lot about the lyrics, I'll talk about the music. I liked the sampling. It was like the Fat Albert sample, playing off of that, and it had that murky kind of what are we sledging through type of feel to it. And I think that worked in concert with what he was talking about, because KRS-One was explaining how a lot of stuff in our society and the world and with humans is very subjective. Like, if you do this, it's okay. If I do this, it's not okay. And this disparity that exists with legal and illegal stuff. And this song came out in 1988. And look at how much drug culture and drugs have gotten even more prominent in the United States and arguably around the world. And he was touching on this in a way and articulating it, describing it, breaking it down, just showing this in 88. And this is not the type of song that a lot of people ever have made. And now we've seen, of course, as rap has evolved, the dudes used to be against doing drugs, and now everybody is promoting doing drugs, and not doing like weed or alcohol. We're talking about hard drugs.
Yeah. And
that's a seismic shift in the music, but it also shows how far ahead of what was being talked about KRS-One was to really break it down in such a way, but then also be on this, EPMD talked about the dangers of drugs, Public Enemy, KRS-One, Too Short, Ice Cube, NWA, these are like the biggest artists in rap. These are not like rappers that people thought were whack or obscure or whatever. No, these were the rappers that we look to and that, you know, are driving forces. LL Cool J did it as well. And that's the thing. That's what makes these songs so powerful to me, is that if you really adhere to what he's saying and, you know, realize it, I think it could give you a lot of great pointers on life and just how to approach things in a more thoughtful, articulate way. So, those are my 3 picks, and Amir has only one different pick than me, so we got 4 out of the 10 songs covered here, and I also mentioned Jimmy, which is another one of my favorites on there. So, those are my 3 favorites, and Amir's 3 favorites from Boogie Down Productions, By All Means Necessary. But be sure to let us know in the comment section. Like, subscribe, share, comment, talk about it, be about it. I'm Soren Baker, Unique Access.
Rahimi.
Yes, and we'll catch you all next time. The Great Debaters.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangsta Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangsta Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the DOC, and dozens of others. The History of Gangsta Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangsta rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV Back with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangsta Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangsta Rap in stores now.